You're about to waste money, not a little, real money, on a pistol you think is a safe bet, and it's going to let you down. The most dangerous budget pistol isn't the cheap one. It's the one that feels good for 5 minutes, then reminds you why it was cheap. Timer goes off, and suddenly that deal starts feeling expensive. I used to think that's how all of them were. Then something didn't sit right. Out of a bunch of budget handguns I ran, 7 of them were actually shockingly good. Not good for the price, just good, like somebody forgot to charge more. And that's where it got weird, because one of them didn't just keep up, it beat a gun I trusted, and another one I wrote off early, and I might have been wrong. So this list isn't clean. It's not perfect. But if you're about to buy on a budget right now, you don't want to get this wrong, because one of these still doesn't make sense to me. You're about to overpay for something that doesn't shoot this clean. I almost did just a few months ago, right there at a small shop outside Lubbock, staring at the SAR-9 Gen 3 like it had to be hiding something. That price tag felt off, too low. My brain already lined it up. Cheap controls, weird balance, that hollow frame feel budget guns always give away. Counter guy didn't pitch it, didn't even try, just goes, pick it up before you judge it. So I did. And that's where it got annoying. The grip locked in immediately. No adjustment, no second try. It just landed right. I kept waiting for something to feel off. Nothing showed. Later that week, same dusty range. No warm-up, timer on. First string, I rushed it on purpose, and the third shot stacked right back into the first 2. That's when it hit me. This isn't good for the price. This is priced wrong, so I pushed it harder. Faster splits, sloppy grip, trying to make it break. The front sight didn't wander, it snapped back like it had a track. Triggers still nothing special. Finish still looks cheap. But that group sitting there didn't match the price tag at all. And even now, I still catch myself waiting for it to slip. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to have a hard time explaining why some guns cost twice as much. I picked this one up for around $380 and didn't think twice about it. Not a main gun decision, more like, fine. Let's see what this thing does. In my head, it was already filed. Another budget Turkish pistol trying to look serious. Something you run once and forget. The first time I handled the SAR-9 Gen 3, it didn't trip any alarms. That was the problem. Grip felt sorted. Angle made sense. Texture didn't feel like an afterthought. I remember thinking, okay, where's the catch? Took it out a few days later, nothing planned. Just ran it alongside a couple of pistols I actually cared about. And that's when it started stacking up. Trigger broke cleaner than I expected. Slide tracked smoother than it had any right to. Then, little things started creeping in. Optic cut, usable sights, mags that didn't feel like throwaways. At some point, I stopped and just looked at it like, this is where the math stops making sense. Now I'm thinking about guns I paid $500, $600 for, and this thing's sitting right there in the same conversation. Not better, not worse, just too close. Finish still looks like it'll wear. Doesn't feel premium. You can tell where corners were saved, but none of that explains the gap. And that's the part that doesn't sit right. Because if this is what shows up under 400, the next one doesn't win on features at all. It wins somewhere most people don't even think to look. Earlier this year, I was out on the line with a buddy who's a serious Glock guy. Not loud about it either. Worse, the kind who doesn't argue, just looks at your gun like it doesn't belong. I set the PSA Dagger Compact on the bench. He gave it that look, like, all right, cute. I didn't say anything, just slid it over. Run it. He picked it up like he already knew what it was supposed to be. Grip settled in quick. Then, a few seconds in, something changed. Not excitement, not surprise, confusion. And that's where it got weirdest, because nothing about that price says it should hold up like that. Like he was waiting for it to start acting like a cheap gun, and it just didn't. Which is where it stops feeling like a budget gun and starts feeling like a problem for everything else. No snap, no fight, nothing pushing back at him. The sight stayed where it needed to be, even when he sped up. He slowed down for a second, looked at it, then kept going, finished the mag. Tried to hand it back like nothing happened, paused, looked again, loaded another mag, still didn't say a word. Not that it ran well, that it never gave me reason to write it off as cheap, and that's the uncomfortable part. Because if you want that Glock-style feel without paying Glock money, the dagger gets close enough to make the gap hard to explain. And even now, I still don't know what he didn't like about it. Honestly, I didn't notice this one at first, and that was the mistake. Had a few pistols laid out on the workbench, just messing with them. No ammo, no targets, swapping mags, checking grip, running dry reloads, seeing what felt off, because something always is. One needed a slight shift to hit the mag release clean. Another forced my support hand higher than it should be. One of them just never sat right unless I adjusted mid-grip. Nothing major, just constant little corrections. Then there was the Ruger RXM. Didn't stand out, didn't grab attention, just sat there. Picked it up, ran a reload, nothing to fix. Set it down, grabbed something else, adjust, shift, fix. Came back to the RXM. Again, nothing. No grip shuffle, no thumb reposition, no second try on the mag. It just lined up and stayed out of the way. After a while, I stopped noticing it, and that's when it clicked. Every other gun was asking for something. This one wasn't. The price made sense, the hype didn't, because this is exactly where something should start annoying you. It never does. No standout feature, no moment you point at. It just quietly removes the stuff you usually fight. Doesn't feel special, doesn't look special, but I kept reaching for it anyway. I hate how much sense this thing makes, and what came after this didn't fix little annoyances. It forced me to trust something I didn't even want to carry. Keep it moving, don't wait on your gear. Instructor said that right as things sped up. Small weekend class, tight bay, guys around me running clean, expensive setups, no hesitation anywhere. Then there's me, with a Canic Meat SF. Not nervous, just aware. Like I might be the one slowing things down if this thing needed babysitting. Drill kicks off. No warm-up. Targets shift, pace jumps, command stack. And you don't get time to think about your gun? Somewhere in that, I stopped checking it, not on purpose. It just never asked for it. Trigger broke when it should. Sights were there when I needed them. Nothing interrupted the flow. No second tries. No catching up. It kept pace without pulling attention. And that's the part that hits. Not that it runs well, that it doesn't demand anything when things get messy. I've used guns that feel fine until speed shows up. Then they start costing you focus. This didn't. It stayed out of the way. Finish still looks average. Details don't impress, but none of that shows up when it matters. And that's where it flips. Because a gun like this isn't supposed to disappear under pressure like that. This one did. And once you feel that, it's hard to explain why some more expensive guns still make you work harder. What comes next doesn't prove itself while you're shooting. It shows up after when you actually have to live with it. Last weekend, I was out on my buddy's ranch near Bondera, helping him zero optics in that dry Texas heat where everything gets covered in dust by noon. I brought the Beretta Aves A1 because, honestly, I didn't care what happened to it. It was cheap. It was sitting around, and in my head, it was just another one people scroll past. Not because it's bad, because nobody talks about it. And that's what got me. It's still a Beretta. Same company people trust for duty guns. Sitting here in the budget pile like it doesn't belong. We were moving around the property, setting up targets, dealing with dust, heat, everything getting in the way. And at some point, I stopped thinking about the gun completely. Not because it impressed me, because it didn't give me a reason to think about it at all. And that's when it hits. Not that it runs well, that this is a full-size Beretta people ignore while chasing names that cost more and don't do anything differently. Now it's not perfect. The grip still looks bulky. The whole thing feels a little off in the hand at first. Not something you would show off, but that's the trap. Because once you actually use it, none of that matters. And that's a dangerous place for a gun like this to sit, because it makes you realize how easy it is to ignore something that's quietly doing everything right. But the last gun on this list surprised me even more. That day, I didn't think about it. That's what caught me. Getting ready to head out, just running through the usual, keys, wallet, and my hand goes to the Bodyguard 2.0. without any debate. No testing mindset. No, let me try this again. Just grabbed it. And I stopped for a second. Because that's not how this was supposed to go. Small guns always lived in a different category for me. Stuff you carry because it's easy. Stuff you accept, not rely on. There's always a trade, control, confidence, something. That's just how it is. Except this time I didn't run through any of that. No hesitation, no backup thought, no, maybe I should switch. It was already decided before I even noticed. And that's where it started to feel off. Not the gun, the way I was treating it. Because I wasn't treating it like a small gun. I was treating it like a normal one. Still small. Still not something I'd pick for everything. You can feel the limits if you look for them, but that didn't stop me, didn't even slow me down. And now I'm sitting there realizing that line I've had in my head this whole time, the one between real guns and carry guns, like, I don't know if it holds anymore. And when a gun this small, this affordable, starts changing how you sort categories in your own head, like, that's not normal value anymore. That's a problem for everything sitting above it. I haven't really sorted that out yet, and that's why it's sitting at number 1. Before you go, there's one more you need to understand. I saw it sitting in the safe and almost left it there. Didn't feel like dealing with it. Already knew what I thought. Last G3C I had didn't do me any favors. That memory sticks. So this one, I wasn't trying to give it a fair shot. If anything, I wanted it to prove me right. But it's also the kind of gun real people actually buy, so I took it anyway. Not a full test. Just enough to remind myself why I don't trust them. And yeah, it still feels like a Taurus. Little rough. Not refined. Nothing about it makes you want to keep shooting it. But it didn't fall apart either. No obvious issues. No moments where I could point and go, there it is. Which honestly made it worse. Because now you're stuck in that middle ground. It's doing enough right that the hate starts feeling lazy, but not enough to just trust it and move on. And that's the problem with this gun. It depends. Some of them run, some don't. And that's not something you get to ignore. So no, I don't trust the G3C, but I also can't sit here and say it doesn't make sense for the right person. Just don't treat it like a blind buy. If your exact one doesn't prove itself, it doesn't belong on your belt. And that right there is why that line from the start exists for me. So now the question sits there. What are you actually paying for? Because it's not always performance, and it's definitely not always reliability. Half the time, it's just a name and the feeling that you didn't cheap out. But the guns on this list didn't care about that. They just kept proving the price tag wrong. Quiet, consistent, and better than they had any right to be. There's a whole pile that didn't make it here. More expensive, more hyped, and somehow easier to regret. I didn't forget that, so where do you stand on it? Are you buying what works or what feels safe? Drop the one that proved you wrong or the one that burned you. I read all of it. I'm Steve. And there's still one